Grief saved me.
Casualty of war. If he hadn't interfered, he might still be alive.
I've spent my whole life putting bad guys behind bars.
At 56, Pauley Perrette has finally broken her silence, and what she revealed will change the way you see her forever. For years, fans of NCIS have wondered about the real reasons behind her shocking exit, the rumors that swirled, and the battles she fought when the cameras stopped rolling. Now, the truth is out. But was Hollywood hiding something bigger? Did Pauley walk away? Or was she pushed out? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you loved Abby, and subscribe for more untold stories from TV history. She wasn't born into Hollywood privilege. In fact, she came from the opposite end of the spectrum. Pauley Perrette grew up in the Deep South, constantly moving between Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Her family lived a life full of challenges. Financial struggles, instability, and hardship were constant companions. Yet even in those difficult conditions, little Pauley had a spark that couldn't be dimmed. From a young age, she dreamed big, sometimes impossibly big. She once admitted that as a child, she wanted to be everything: a rock star, an FBI agent, even a sociologist. To her, the world was wide open, and she wasn't about to limit herself to just one dream. That restless energy and determination would later become her most powerful weapon, driving her to places she never could have imagined as a little girl. But life in the South was not kind. Pauley has spoken openly about surviving trauma, poverty, and the overwhelming challenges of growing up in a place where opportunities were scarce. Many children in her situation would have been broken by those circumstances, but not her. Instead, the hardships became fuel. They gave her toughness, resilience, and a deep empathy for others who were struggling. Those qualities would later shine through, not just in her acting career, but in her activism and the way she connected with fans all over the world. Determined to carve a path out of her circumstances, Pauley threw herself into education with relentless focus. She became fascinated with questions of justice, crime, and human behavior. She studied criminology, psychology, and sociology, disciplines that allowed her to understand the darker sides of humanity, as well as the systems designed to fight them. At the time, she imagined herself working in forensic science or law enforcement, maybe even spending her life solving real-life mysteries in a lab or on the streets. What she didn't realize then was that this very path of study would one day collide with destiny. Those long nights spent learning about criminal justice and human psychology would prepare her for a role that millions would come to love. Years later, when she stepped into the shoes of forensic scientist Abby Sciuto on NCIS, she wasn't just playing a character, she was channeling the very subjects that had once fascinated her as a student. The seeds of her most iconic role were planted long before she ever set foot in Hollywood. But Pauley Perrette was never just a student of books. She was a dreamer with a creative fire that refused to burn out. When she moved to New York City, she found herself surrounded by possibility, yet burdened by the crushing weight of survival. Life in the city was anything but glamorous. She worked odd jobs just to keep herself afloat, bartending long shifts, catering events, even working as a cook. Some days, she barely scraped together enough to cover rent. But Pauley's spirit was relentless. She hustled day and night, clinging to the belief that something greater was waiting for her. And then, fate intervened. Through a friend, she was introduced to the unpredictable world of acting. What started as a curious experiment soon became a calling. She began auditioning for commercials and small roles, walking into rooms filled with hundreds of hopefuls, each one desperate for their shot at recognition. But Pauley stood out. With her striking looks, fiery energy, and rare authenticity, casting directors couldn't forget her. Her first real breaks came not on television, but in music videos and indie films. Slowly, piece by piece, she began building a resume. Television soon followed, and audiences caught glimpses of her in popular shows like Frasier, The Drew Carey Show, and That's Life. Each guest spot was another stepping stone, sharpening her skills and teaching her how to survive in an industry that was often cold and unforgiving. Then, in 2003, destiny arrived. CBS was preparing to launch a brand new procedural drama, Called NCIS, the show needed a forensic scientist, someone smart, edgy, and unforgettable. When Pauley auditioned, it was as though her entire life had been leading to that moment. With her background in criminology and psychology, she wasn't just reading lines, she was living them. The producers saw it immediately. She was cast as Abby Sciuto, the gothic scientist whose brilliance in the lab was matched only by her warmth and quirky charm. With her jet black hair, chokers, tattoos, and caffeine-fueled energy, Abby was unlike anyone on television. She wasn't a side character, she was the heartbeat of NCIS. For 15 seasons, Abby Sciuto became a household name. Audiences adored her. She brought a spark to every episode, infusing the darkest murder investigations with light and humor. Fans loved her because she was different, unapologetically unique, fiercely loyal, and deeply human. For many young viewers, especially women and girls interested in science, Abby was more than a character, she was an inspiration. But while the world saw a bubbly, confident character, behind the scenes Pauley was living a very different reality. She struggled with anxiety, the relentless pressures of fame, and the burden of playing the same role for over a decade. And there were deeper problems too. Tensions with co-star Mark Harmon began to cast a shadow over her time on set. An infamous incident involving Harmon's dog allegedly biting a crew member fueled conflict. Pauley later suggested on social media that there were issues of safety and mistreatment that pushed her to leave the show. Her exit in 2018 shocked fans everywhere. One day she was there, and the next she was gone, and she didn't go quietly. Through cryptic tweets, she spoke of being silenced, of fearing for her safety, of darker truths she could not share, though she avoided naming names directly. The implications were unmistakable. For Pauley, leaving NCIS was not just a career decision, it was a matter of survival. Yet despite walking away from one of the biggest shows on television, Pauley did not vanish. She redirected her energy, focusing on her health, her personal happiness, and her activism. Because here's what many people overlook: Pauley Perrette has always been more than Abby Sciuto. Long before she put on a lab coat, she was a passionate advocate for justice. She championed causes ranging from animal rights to LGBTQ equality. From civil rights to disaster relief, she donated time, money, and her voice to campaigns others in Hollywood were too afraid to touch. Her activism was personal. Having survived multiple traumas, including a violent assault outside her own home in Los Angeles, she understood firsthand the struggles of survivors. She spoke openly about violence, about trauma, about mental health. Her willingness to be vulnerable gave hope to countless fans going through their own battles. But fame has its costs. Away from the cameras, Pauley faced health battles that shook her to the core. In 2020, she revealed that she had suffered a life-threatening stroke the year before, one that left her partially paralyzed. For someone once so full of energy and movement, it was terrifying. But true to her resilient spirit, Pauley fought back. Through therapy and perseverance, she slowly regained her health, and she shared her journey with fans, not for sympathy, but as a reminder that every day of life is a gift. It was during this period that she announced her retirement from acting. For her millions of fans, it was a bittersweet moment. They longed to see her again on screen, but they respected her decision to step away. After years of giving her all to Hollywood, she chose to prioritize her peace, even in retirement. Pauley Perrette has remained a powerful presence. She continues to write, to advocate, and to inspire. Through social media, she connects directly with fans, sharing glimpses of her life beyond Hollywood. She remains the quirky, warm-hearted, deeply empathetic soul they fell in love with. But now, without the mask of a character, fans see the real woman, a survivor, a fighter, a beacon of resilience. Her legacy is unlike many in Hollywood. While countless actors are remembered only for the roles they played, Pauley is remembered for the life she lived and the people she touched. She showed that you can come from hardship and still rise, that you can face trauma and still heal, that you can walk away from fame and still be loved. The story of Pauley Perrette is not simply the story of an actress. It is the story of a woman who fought tirelessly for herself, for her health, and for those without a platform. She transformed pain into purpose, and fame into advocacy. So, what do you think about Pauley Perrette's journey from survival to stardom and beyond? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you loved Abby Sciuto. And don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from Hollywood's biggest legends. Thanks for watching.